Welcome everyone to From Dungeons to Starships. Now this is a change in the type of video we've been doing, and this is going to be our inaugural interview. Now what we decided to do with the interviews we're going to be carrying out is in the future is we're going to do it over 2 episodes. One, this is based on the past and present that our interviewee is involved with within the great wide world of miniature wargaming, etc. And then the second episode is going to be present to future, then looking at things that these people are working on, what's going to be new and shiny coming for us in the future. Now, wanted to have a big hitter for the first one. Wanted someone that, I've always wanted to pick the brains of, having been a complete devotee to the game he was involved in. Now, Tuomas was thankful enough to accept our invitation to come on and be our guinea pig for this interview. So hopefully it works out well. So let's go watch episode 1. Okay, so Tuomas, thank you for joining us here on From Dungeons to Starships. There's the old saying, go big or go home. So for the first interview I wanted to do on this channel, I wanted to get someone on board who's held with a slight bit of reverence within the community, and I couldn't think of any name so like better than yours to try and get on. So thank you for taking some time out from your evening, coming on and joining us.
Glad to do so. And to me, it's not really important how big the channel is. It's the stuff you wanted to ask sounded important. So let's get to it.
Okay, so obviously, I know there's a lot of other people who are going to be watching this who know that. So, like, your name is pretty much linked to Mordheim, but that's going back some. 1999 when it was first released. So, I'd like to start off with talking about, taking us back into the past a little bit. Talk about, that first discussions you were having when the game was being talked about at GW, who was involved in the round table, and what ideas you were batting backwards and forwards.
I've really just started is the me taking a newspaper to Rick Priestley, who was running all the design side on the Games Workshop at that moment, and she just laughing at all these people believing that when year 2000 comes, it's the end of the world, and we were flabbergasted by the fact that the people are so adamant that it was all over, and that led me to thinking about, well, what if it was all over? If something truly terrible actually happened? It's in 2000, and I thought, right, I'm the head of the Warhammer design. Can I apply it here? And I found out that I can. I couldn't, of course, destroy the entire Warhammer world. But I could destroy a city. So it was really me coming up with the idea, and then Rick Priestley and Alan Merritt being the ones who said, yeah, go for it. There wasn't really at that point, the studio was completely separate from the business side. Like, if you came from any other unit, your key card wouldn't work on studio. You just couldn't come in. So it really was purely a creative endeavor, how that got off the ground.
Okay, so because obviously, I've heard you interviewed before, going backwards and forwards, and a lot of talk about when you say about what was the idea behind the game. It was principally to try and create a skirmish version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Is that pretty much where the idea was going?
Well, it was like we always had. Necromunda was a huge success, so the studio always had a wish that we should do something for the fantasy as well. But of course, you need to, at that point in design studio, needed to come up with something that people are genuinely excited about. And I think one of the key things that happened was that as soon as John Blanche saw it, he just said, right, that's mine. He went to Rick and said, I want to art direct this from the beginning till finish, just give it to me. And when you have John is like a force of nature, In my 28 years of making games, I've never had an art director quite like him. When he gets going, it's just a freight train you can't stop. So pretty much that the game gets made was decided by them, because the literally all the key creative and people with the power had the were behind it. And yeah, everybody sort of wanted to see a skirmish system for fantasy, because it's done a good thing for the company as well. So it really was to find the right spark.
So, talking about like John getting on board, and I've talked to other artists who are involved, like John Wigley and people like that. I've spoken to him in the past on other things, and normally, and that, so like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but normally with Games Workshop games at the time, normally there was a design for the miniature line that would go alongside with the game, and a lot of the times the game was brought to bear in line with the figure range that was coming out. But that didn't happen with Mordheim, wasn't it? The game was written first, and then the miniatures and the aesthetic come along afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I also, since I ran the first articles on White Dwarf, it was a good place to gauge the interest and the see the people's excitement. But there was also like the what we consider modern multi-part plastic kits. Mordheim was a real trailblazer. I mean, rightfully the mercenaries that came with it and the Skaven are considered classics. And the technology was embryonic at that side, so there was a lot of things going for it. So what I wanted to do aligned very well what everybody else wanted to do. So there wasn't really all the answers that the people they wanted were already there. It's we wanted the multi-part plastic kits, we wanted a skirmish set, we wanted to focus on on certain armies, and and really everybody got so excited about it that I am sure Rick had to twist some arms behind the scenes with the business people, but that was not my job. That was Rick's job.
Absolutely, yeah. So in regards to that, the aesthetic that followed, I mean, how closely did you work with John based around that? Were you a lot? There was a lot of backwards and forwards, or was he, completely, like you said, the juggernaut that is John Blanche, just took it and run?
Yeah, no, the discussions were very much on a creative, lore, fictional level. You don't direct John Blanche. I mean, that would be ridiculous. He has more experience than everybody put together around you. So what's the point? It would be the other way around, except John's too nice guy to give any orders. So we had a lot of discussions about the feel, the look of the world, and he reads a lot. Like John, while not a rules guy, he never makes a big noise about it. He just said, "Hey, can you print this to me?" He reads everything, and that's why the art he makes, while it's this very artistic mad vision, you actually notice he never does anything that's against the game rules. Like you never get that clash that you sometimes get. But yeah, I went to John's house. It's they had just had a baby at that time. So it was very quiet discussions in a very but that made it great. But yes, there was a lot of communication, a lot of co-work, but it is very different with John, because he's not an illustrator, he's an artist. It's he works on creating vision and the sort of the artistic impression of the game rather than illustrations for miniatures. He can do that too if he wants to, but it's not what he was doing there.
Yeah. I mean, because I suppose it's a lot linked into me in my second question is that over the last couple of years we've seen, especially with on rise on Instagram and YouTube and various other places, the rise of this 28 community. So like a community that could be said that one of the games that drives them is the original Inquisitor, which again is one of a game that relies heavily on John's artwork. But realistically, could we say that Mordheim is pretty much the fantasy equivalent for people who are not maybe into sci-fi, but you know, the aesthetic that leads the more fantasy trope 28 community.
Yeah, or you could say that the Inquisitor is the Mordheim equivalent is I think it's they are all in that very pure grimdark John Blanche's the art style. Obviously, Gab and I are good friends. It's we share many things in common. Talk a lot during our time there. Is the get along like really great. So I think you're just seeing a bunch of creatives who work together, have similar taste, influenced each other. So it's no wonder that you can draw some parallel lines. It's I mean, it was the same people essentially making both games. I wasn't involved in Inquisitor, but you see what I mean. It's
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, because this weekend in the UK, just to timeline this a little bit, is the UK Games Expo. So you know, the biggest, one of the biggest UK shows on the calendar. And just being there this morning before we've done this interview, it's when you're walking around and seeing now a lot more of independent titles and stuff like that. We've got things like games like Morkborg, the role play. I mean, I don't know how many of these, you know, other titles that have sprang out of that 28 community really hold their well, must hold kudos to the original work you did with Mordheim, whether that was the benchmark to which they've sort of like built upon and gone off with their new strategy. So is there any of the games that you see coming out now which not you would say, yeah, if that was me still working at GW and still working in this universe, so that's probably the title that I would have been working on. But is there any games that infuse you that are coming out?
Oh, I mean, I think is I think if I get the essence of your question is I absolutely think it's the Mordheim was a instigator, spark to a lot of people we are now seeing doing grimdark games. Is following the creed of Blanchitsu and the grimdark aesthetic. I think I'm super proud of seeing that. Super happy to see people inspired, because I was a lad once and I got the D&D red box with that fantastic Elmore piece on cover, and I was just wow. And I read the Tolkien's World, which incidentally had all those wonderful John Blanche paintings like The Fall of Gondolin, which inspired me. So if stuff that I've been able to do and make has had the similar inspiration to the next generation, which I think clearly has, then I'm just super chuffed. I mean, that's the greatest thing for a game designer to see.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's not solely as well. We're not really talking, you know, going on away from the games. A lot of the community stuff is driven by the modelling within the community, the aesthetic people bring to their tables that they're playing their games on, and also, so like, you know, when they're talking about their games, they're talking about it more in the narrative sense rather than a game that's a you know, rank and file game or, you know, typical war game on the table. So with the ethos in mind, again, going back, and I'll keep harping on about that. So how proud does it make you feel that you pretty much are responsible for that level of, you know, design and artistic talent that's coming to the fore, that's out there? I mean, because without titles like Inquisitor and titles like Mordheim itself, it wouldn't give the people that world to be able to play in and to mess about with and to bring their own ideas too, would it?
Oh, I'm incredibly proud. For I do want to say that if you ask John, he sees himself as a part of continuity from the Western art tradition, like from Bosch and Dürer and the other greats, is that he sees himself in that flow rather than being. I mean, of course, he's the instigator to a modern miniature painting, for example, and but I mean, on the Mordheim itself, I had an all-star team. I mean, it was John, Carl Kopinski, stories from Gavin, John Wigley, the Alex. I can hardly say that and of course it uses much of the essence of the Warhammer in it. I am super happy that for my credit as the main creator, but I do want to stress that I am both a part of Continuum and a part of a team who deserve every bit as much credit as I do. But I hope just that we see this continuing. The next generation will inspire the next and next, because there really isn't a hobby without hobbyists. I always say to people that go that this is our space, and I say, look, who's gonna this is a great hobby, it's given you and us so much, so we kind of have I feel a little bit of a duty to invite new people in and introduce them to this wonderful hobby. So I'm just hoping that this continues, that I can see myself being part of this long line of people who wanted to bring these creative the fictional worlds that to inspire people and bring a little bit of something special in our lives, because we have plenty of mundane stuff to go through every day, so it's nice to get a bit of a something is the memorable in your life.
Yeah. I mean, are you playing? Are you still playing games yourself? Is it still part of you that's likes to disappear for that couple of hours just to get away, roll some dice with friends and all the rest of it? And if so, what games are you yourself playing?
No, I am a 40-year dungeon master / game master. As in, I'm older than 40. I've been a dungeon master for 40 years. So I'm playing D&D right now because my kid is really into it, and a father is obviously super proud. And of course, I want to give her the game experience that she's looking for. I have my own game under development, which I think we'll talk about a bit later, which I'm playing frenziedly right now. I was just in a weekend ago, I was in Italy in Play Modena, which is a huge convention where they have this huge Mordheim tournament. I played games there. I mean, I pick up a game of Mordheim. It's a little bit difficult when you are the creator, because if there is any rule uncertainty, everybody turns to you, and you don't want to put your opponent into position that you have all the power. It's in the relationship. So I tend to pick up friendlies when it comes to Mordheim, because competitive games, it's you don't want the other side feel that how would I say, that they are not on even ground. But I take a lot.
Yeah, I suppose it's the two-edged sword. It's the organisers. What would be the best draw for putting on a Mordheim tournament is that you're going to have the creator of the game playing there. But then on the other side of the blade is, when anything comes into question, whenever there's a rule question coming into place, it's not the tournament organizer that they're all going to be surrounding you, trying to nitpick and various bits and pieces. I mean, I remember putting a couple of alt action games back a few years ago to World War II and having Alessio turned up for them to play. So obviously, again, it was one of those ones that was a bit of it's nice, but again, as an organizer, I can understand how maybe that might put you in a little bit of an awkward position, not just yourself.
Yeah, and also, like, those guys were playing a serious competitive tournament, and in that the environment, first of all, I've done a lot of competitive gaming, and you need a very different mindset, while I want to go to convention to have fun. So I played a lot of friendlies and the celebrity games with the other game makers there. It's hey, if somebody comes and they want to win a tournament, and my hat's off to them, that's not a bad way to play. It's up to you what you enjoy, a story-driven narrative campaign or competitive game, and it should be as fair to those people as you can make it, and having a creator in the mix is not a good idea, I don't think.
Yeah, quite possibly. So with the game itself now, as it sits, it's probably going to say that we're still with first edition of the game.
Mm.
Now, you've had things like the Town Cry magazine, years of fan-built stuff that have come into it. But was there never a talk about the game entering that, the GW cycle of, 4 years re-release, 4 years re-release, or was it always seen as it was going to be a one standalone game and one shot on it to see where it goes type of thing?
No, I mean, the reason why it went the way it went was that the journey started to Fanatic as the game was done. So it was the plan, which also worked, was that, hey, we give this to the game, the Fanatic department, and they'll support us, and they will bring the players into, which absolutely happened.
Yeah.
So it was sort of, how would I say, taken away from the studio, which the plan was then they make just the mainline games, and if we do hobby games like the Necromunda and Mordheim, they go to Fanatic. I mean, plans have changed after that, of course. I also think that because the game so heavily encouraged kit bashing, customization, building your own terrain, it didn't align perfectly with the business plans. So you see what I mean? I mean, the thing with the Mercenaries box is that the several sales guys said to me, it's bloody too good. So you don't need to buy anything else if you want to play. And that's not for a company that has to, which is in the stock market and has a lot of employees who have mouths to feed. That's probably not. It's almost too good a product because it cannibalizes others. So I think there was a bit of that. I mean, part of this is guesswork, but I also think that as the Games Workshop sort of become more mainstream, Mordheim's pretty dark. The artwork is pretty out there. There is stuff in there like drug use that I don't think the would fly so easily today. So so I think it's also like the art style is so strong that it's hard to imagine anybody else except John doing it. And John's not the guy who just redoes what he's done before. Of course, he's now retired. Even though he's probably doing more stuff now than he did even at GW.
Probably, yeah.
The new miniatures coming out, books, board games, working with me. I mean, the man's a hurricane of creativity. But that, by the way, does not by any stretch of means mean that Games Workshop couldn't do it later. I mean, nostalgia games are a big thing right now. So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, talking about that nostalgia we've had. The re-release of, I mean, I know you said earlier in the interview you were only able to kill a city, you weren't able to kill the world, but eventually the world did come to an end in terms of Fantasy Battle. But now, obviously, with this year, they've re-released the Old World as a title, and a lot of people are. Well, I don't think it's totally correct to say that it's. The success that the game is seeing with the sales and with the amount of people playing, it's not all the old people coming back or all the old people buying into it. It is a lot of new players who didn't have any involvement in Warhammer Fantasy back then, and they're coming back and coming into the fold with a new style of game, a different atmosphere around it. So saying that, because the Old World has come back with a frenzy. Has there ever been any talk about, it's time for maybe more time to be relooked at or updated? I mean, I know you've answered part of the question with the old artistic side of it, but even still, taking it back, and I'm sure a lot of the original artwork could be used again, because GW are always about recycling artwork along the side. So, has there been any discussion about?
Well, certainly not with me, because I don't work in the company anymore, and for obvious reasons, I don't think that would ever happen. It's my friends in charge at GW haven't really mentioned much. That doesn't mean anything, because they are, of course, it's I mean, if history is to followed, and I would have to gamble, I'd say that it will happen one day because it's business, and if there is, as the online proves, there certainly is an audience. The how to approach that audience is of course a very different question. But no, there hasn't been any talk that I've heard of. However, I don't work for GW. That doesn't mean much. And like I said, it's if there is business to be made, then eventually those things happen. Because the video game was quite successful. Remarkably, the Mordheim video game was more successful than the Necromunda version, which you'd thought would be more natural fit. But no, and that brought again lots of players to the tabletop version, which, as you said, it's still on its first edition. So I think this is pure speculation, but for GW, I think the biggest thing would be that how can they maintain the trust of the fanatic cult following that the game has while bringing new people in. That would be, I think, quite challenging. But again, maybe there is so many new players that it doesn't really matter. I think with the old world, they were pretty clever. The 8th edition of the Warhammer Fantasy Battle had problems.
Yeah.
And they've gone really back to 6th, 7th edition at its, if you look at its very heart, which of course makes me happy because 6th edition was a lot of work. So I'm happy that it still has a sort of spiritual succession going on. So there were new people who didn't get burned out with the 8th edition. I don't want to be too hard on those guys, by the way. It's every designer does their best. So I'm not attacking those guys. Sometimes just how good plans you lay out, it doesn't always turn the way you'd like. But anyway, maybe there is an angle there. I'm an outsider right now, so it'll be fascinating to see if they do anything with it.
Okay. So just going into the final question about the past, present bit. So let's just spitball and let's just say that tomorrow you had the phone call from Nottingham, and they said, right, we want to go ahead, we want to have a look at not bringing a new version of Mordheim to the table. I mean, a lot of the gameplay and everything there is already in line with what the old world is, because you said it's based around 6th edition, which is what we've got at the moment. So I don't think too much of the core rulings would have to be changed. But is there anything that you would consider changing for a new version of the game? Anything that you didn't quite, you weren't 100% happy with the original or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there would be two. I mean, I do not think GW would call me for the reasons of money, most likely. But if they did, there would be two options. Either I'd fix everything in the original Mordheim, like the stop the Skaven sling spam. It's the look into, can I bring the armor into the game? I don't want to, because the one thing I really wanted in Mordheim, I did not want everybody running around in heavy armor, because that's not they stabbing somebody in the back alleys. If the armor was too cheap, it was against the immersion of the world, because in real life, chainmail cost a goddamn fortune.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. And it would be completely wrong look for the game. But the maybe do something like, hey, one of the heroes can have heavy armor at this price, something like that. I would go through all the erratas, fix those, or the other one would be that I start from scratch. I'll do a completely different game with new rules, for a more streamlined experience. However, I'm not sure if that would be the right thing, thinking of the love that the fandom has for Mordheim. But those would be the two paths I would take. Having said that, if they do Mordheim, I do not think they will call me.
Well, you never know. You never know. You never know. It could be out there. So, I mean, like I said, like we said at the top of the interview, it was October '99 that it was put out, the nice red box. So, we've got just over 4 months now until that 25th anniversary is hit. So, has there been any thoughts about anything you'd like to do to commemorate, the existence of the game, or is there, I know there's, big followings here, there, and throughout Europe and in the States as well, about when anyone has talked about, we want to do some massive events to celebrate the game, something that's going out there, and anything that you've heard from the community yourself.
Yeah. The Italians are holding the World Championships, so the people will be coming all over to, I believe, to Milan. It's to have a determine the world champion of Mordheim, which will be amazing because the Mordheim community in Italy is just incredible, and I do stress incredible. Like think about this: the Mordheim painting competition in the show where I went to, the Modena play, there was a guy who had a warband that won Golden Demon with it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't good enough to win painting competition there. So you imagine this little local show, the quality bar is so high for Mordheim that it's not even Golden Demon winner can win that. That is astounding. It absolutely is. It's how dedicated they are. So the World Championships is coming on the biggest the forum, which is the Mordheim Facebook group. We are running the first ever worldwide painting competition. So we are pinging all the Mordheim communities. It's I have the Alessio Sisbani, who is the painter who's won more Golden Demons than anybody in the history of Golden Demon, twice the Slayer Sword, I believe. Hundreds and hundreds of Golden Demon prizes. He's going to be judging. Huge Mordheim fan, massive. Comes to all the events dressed up as a Mordheim character. It's and we haven't held, like I do, a yearly competition in the Mordheim group just for the fun. We haven't done a painting competition before, and it's such a integral part of the hobby that it's kind of funny that it's been 25 years and we haven't held one. But that works really well. So that's coming. It's later this year. We're going to announce the details, give people 3 months to paint, and then we'll have the world champion player and then the world champion modeler / painter to celebrate the 25th year. I think it'll be wonderful.
It's one of them. You've already got my mind wearing is, can I get time off work, and how much would it cost to get to Milan to witness? I mean, I'm sort of thinking, because we talked about a game that's been left alone, and then about GW. I mean, the only other one that I could probably akin it to be something like Blood Bowl, where Games Workshop walked away from it for a good number of years, but it was kept alive from a very chivalrous community who wanted the game to carry on, who wanted the game to do. And looking at the World Championship they've just had for Blood Bowl was something like about 500 people were attending this event to go and play, which dwarfs any game, any GW title, whether you're talking about big conventions like Adepticon or something like that, with the amount of players they've got going to those events. It just dwarfs in comparison. So I don't know, to see that many people playing the game like you come up with some 25 years ago must fill your heart with great pride and all the rest of it, mustn't it?
Yeah, and it also shows that the whatever anybody else say, that it is the players that are on the driving seat. Like any company can call a game dead, but does it matter if people are playing? I mean, who determines if game is dead? Is some business catalog, or the people who are playing games, doing more conversions, doing tournaments, doing competitions and events? It's to me, a game that's being played is alive, and a game that some company is pushing but nobody's playing. I think that's much more dead than I don't know about you, but to me, it's not the company that can determine whatever a game is alive. I mean, Blood Bowl is a tremendous example. Like the community, there is no chance of killing Blood Bowl ever. Nobody could do it. Community is wholly dedicated, and there are new people coming in all the time because it's absolute classic.
Absolutely. Well, that was it for episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you'd like to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and put your notification buttons on, you'll be able to see when the next one goes live in the second part to this interview. Again, we'd like to thank Thomas himself for taking time out to join us. So hopefully you'll come back and join us for the second part and see what Thomas has got in the melting pot for us. But remember, the games you're playing, hope you're having fun, whether those games are from the dungeons to starships.